You just drinking water now?
Yeah.
Also,
Quick way to get me to go sober.
sobriety. Sobriety.
Yeah.
All right, we are live. Let me just get this posted in our basic chat. Basic. Cool. All right. So to the one person watching right now, welcome back to Brandbeats. My name is Eric.
I'm JoJo.
I'm Andrew.
Cool. And as we all know, we're getting pretty close to the end of the year here. And, you know, last episode was about kind of taking a look back, like almost like a retrospective of things we've been thankful for this time of year. But I think for this final episode of the year, we were thinking about what are some things that maybe we want to see in 2021, or maybe things that we expect to see, both in brand and in culture and just in life. So I don't know if you guys have any like thought starters, but I think real quick, just for me, I would hope to see something at least a little more positive, because as we know, this has been a super shitty and a year that has thrown everyone for a loop. So I think for me, just more optimism come from somewhere next year. So I don't know.
Okay, I mean, to catch you up, Eric was asking what we hope to see for next year, or what we expect to see for next year, basically in like culture or with brands, or just with communities in general. You know, thinking about like probably on the precipice of some sort of a change, you know, with everything going on with the pandemic. So what are your thoughts?
Dude, the sound is so whack right now.
On your computer?
Yeah, like it was just fine on my last meeting, and now it sounds like you guys are super distant.
You don't sound that great
Can you hear
either.
me? Check.
How does
Before
my
you start slinging.
the MacBook speakers sound way better than the desktop? So what?
Oh shit.
Wow.
All right, Erwin.
Well, I hope in 2021 Erwin gets his shit together.
For underwater, so I couldn't hear anything.
Yeah.
Do it again, Eric. But quicker.
We're pretty much talking about, okay, so last episode was a retrospective, right, of 2020, like things we're all thankful for, things we're grateful for, etc.
Yeah.
But as we wrap up this year, 2020, looking to 2021, like what are our hopes, dreams, aspirations, expectations for everything, you know, socially, in brand, in culture, personally even, like just anything that comes to mind as far as what do you think is going to happen next year, or what do you hope to see? So
Everybody else, that's complicated, man.
I know it's a very, very philosophical, layered question.
I don't know what would be new in what I would say versus what I've said all the time in the past like couple brand beats. Which is one, I expect to see the death of brands that don't stand for anything. Don't have any like deeper meaning to exist beyond just like the profit. Because we'll start seeing through that. Like even if they're fighting and pushing for DEI internally, I feel like they're doing it as just like a reactive measure, and they don't fully grasp it. And I feel like those things are gonna start to really show by the end of next year within these different brands. And so like that's something that I would see and I would like think would actually happen. And then I would see like the rise of brands that truly care and have a little bit more substance to them. And so in every one of these like brand beats, I've probably talked about streetwear and what streetwear means as an art movement rather than just a fashion movement. But it really means the listening and partaking in of actual culture that has more depth or pre-existing depth as opposed to like fictitious aspiration uh, that's built around something that's not real. And so even when I like listen to someone like Samuel Ross from A Cold Wall talk about his garments versus like the head designer of Burberry, there's so much more richness in his design that's rooted in his story, who he is as a Black person and a Black man and a Black British man. But also because of that, it's also rooted in the current cultural zeitgeist, and it touches on people's real feelings and real thoughts and real culture. Whereas I was listening to like the head designer of Burberry, and he was just saying like, yeah, this fashion show is about a mermaid meeting and falling in love with a shark. And then I put it in the woods because they're both out of place in that space. And I was like, what the fuck is this? It's like, it's a luxury to be able to think like that. It's to be able to think in that way and not necessarily be bogged down by the ills of society. But I think the ills of society are so prevalent and everybody feels them and everybody knows that they're there. And if you're a brain who's not functioning in a way where you're recognizing those ills and beginning to course correct and try and change it through all aspects of what you do, whether it's like garments and fashion, or if it's like through sustainability plays and practices, through who you're having in your ads and your marketing, to how you're designing your websites and apps to be more accessible, to be more understanding. Like I feel like just in general, all spaces will need to come to terms with the reality and design for the real world. And that's what I see, and that's what I hope would happen.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean,
I think.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Uh-oh. Your cat.
What is going on?
That's abuse. Why hold your cat like that?
Just dangling the cat.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting too, because I feel like all of the realities of like the world that we live in too are going to make that even more prevalent, right? Like culturally, I think we've never been more divided, at least in this country, you know, with everything kind of going on. So I think that means that like people will dig into the things that mean something more to them, and have more of an attachment than they probably ever did before, because so much of the stuff that it's so much more evident when people don't, that there are people out there that don't agree with them or have different views and opinions. And I mean, I think that divisiveness in our culture will just sort of like turn into more people wanting to wear symbols or representations of like what they do believe. And on top of that, it's like even fiscally, like, you know, our economy is probably going to like slow down. Like people are doing less. Right? Like we're moving around less. And I don't think like it's going to obviously go back to like where it was. And so I feel like we'll probably consume less, even like in the space you're talking about, like fashion. You know, I think we'll buy and purchase less, and that will make each and every one of those purchases more meaningful and more purposeful. And so when brands represent something that means something to us, I feel like when you have to make that choice, that'll be a much bigger factor in everything that you sort of, you know, buy or choose to put on your chest, or whatever brand you put on your hat or whatever, because you're doing far less of it. And so, you know, I just feel like more and more action will have like a deeper meaning with us. And that's just beyond like, not necessarily because it all means more to us, but like also just the factors of like our environment too will drive us to sort of be more conscious about like every step that we take.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I would also, like from a design industry standpoint, I hope that we would realize that there's two spaces to function in changing the world, right? Like you can function in the world of policy, but you can also function in the world of design. And brands have a huge have a lot of weight in helping to ultimately shift policy. And so if you are a designer and you're actually helping to shape these brands, you at the end of the day also have the opportunity and really the obligation and the responsibility to go into these spaces with these brands and help them understand what's happening in the world and help them see the realities and help shape that brand so that they can ultimately also help shape policy. And as designers, we're also we're also helping these brands shape aspiration, right? And aspiration at the end of the day builds our perception of the world and builds everything that we want and desire. And those desires shape who we are and who we will be in the future. And so by realizing the power that design has as a designer, as creatives, as a copywriter, whatever, realizing that power, I feel like we should just not maneuver into spaces with like crazy fucking confidence. That's not what I'm saying, but it's like maneuver into spaces, recognizing that we have the ability to shift the world in a positive direction. And we should use that power in those spaces in a non-apologetic way, because the world needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
So while people will become more responsible with their purchases, they still will look at brands for their aspirations. Not that they're openly and knowingly doing that, but that's what happens when you paint pictures of the world. You're shaping how people see their world and what they want to do. And I think, yeah, again, as like designers and as like a person of color, as a Black man who's a designer and a creative and has influence within those different spaces, one of the ways to unlock opportunity for the younger generation is to paint new aspiration where they can see themselves and like the spectrum of experiences outside of just like when we're going to work with when we're going to have like a basketball shoot, we're going to use a Black person. Like we all know we can do that.
Yeah.
But it's like, how do you use the lived experience that you have, bring it into the spaces you go to actually help change aspiration, to open up opportunity for the generations below us?
I almost feel like, you know, to Andrew and Erwin's point, brands have absolutely become more like intentional and responsible. But I wonder if like consumers are taking like the opposite direction. Like, I feel like by the end of the pandemic, whenever that is in 2021, hopefully sooner rather than later, I feel like people are just going to be irresponsible as fuck, and not even just like as consumers, but just like socially. Like they're like, oh, we've been in for so long, like we're just going to go out in droves, you know. And so I don't know. I go back and forth on that a lot, but I do wonder, because we've had time, like I guess more time to think and be more introspective. Like, does that make us more conscious, and like, you know, are we gravitating more toward responsibility in 2021? Like I just have no idea. So
yeah, that's true. Because
maybe I'm just cynical. I don't know. I could just be like a cynical fucking.
You mean
Yeah.
like people forgot how to behave? You know?
Almost, yeah. Like they forgot how to be like decent human beings because they've been cooped up for so long, you know?
people are definitely going to go hard.
Yeah.
Like the first like festival that happens is going to be like the craziest fucking festival.
Yeah.
And then the first of everything is going to be super crazy. But hopefully we get to a point where we're still comfortable.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's like this duality of the experience where it's like double-sided, or it's not just like one thing where it's like everybody's going to go crazy so they don't give a fuck about any of the other stuff anymore. Maybe there's just a rise of consciousness and realizing that we have one life to live, that life is very, and all of the experiences that we choose to partake in are that much more important, but we're going to live each one of those experiences like it's our last one. So maybe it's both. Maybe like people will still be very intentional in what they do and who they hang out with.
Yeah.
But when they do hang out and when they do something, they're going to go all the way the fuck out.
Interesting. I can see that too.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Like, look back in history, we could be in sort of like for completely different reasons, like in a route to another, like Roaring 20s, right? Where there was like, So something's like taken away from us for so long, and then it's like there's a feeling of freedom that will come when like some of like the I guess like the pressures of like this pandemic, whether there's a vaccine or whatever it may be, feel a little less potent. And I think you're right. Like people probably will. I'm sure. I mean, like it's like everybody. Like there are people who are gonna like not feel comfortable stepping back into the world. There are people who are gonna like lose their damn mind because they've been just like cooped up. It's like this has been against their nature this whole time, and they're just starving for social interaction.
Mhm.
Like I think a lot will change, just in terms of like what our baseline is for quite some time. But I feel like social interaction is gonna. I really have no idea what that will
Yeah.
look like. To be honest with you, I have no idea. Like where we net out. Like will like our masks going to be like uh uh ever present? You know what I mean? Like other cultures, they are far more. And I always find like for me, just like out in public, even when you have to go out now, I'm like accustomed to that. And like when I see
Yeah.
people's faces, it like weirds me out.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, whoa,
Mhm.
like that's weird. Like it's so noticeable to see like the opposite of it. And I'm like, is that gonna be weird? Like when I see people smiling again or not, or like
Yeah.
facial expression have to react to their emotions like in public. I don't know. I feel like we're gonna have like sensory overload. For real, and I'm like serious. Like you see people like strangers in public places.
Somebody smiles at you, you're like, I don't know what to
I
do.
don't know what to do with this.
Special cues.
Happening.
um, I I don't know. I think for me, what I would like to see more of is more collaboration, and not like low key collaboration, but
Mm,
like out there collaboration. When I think about like the future and especially speaking on like the Black experience, I think a lot of people are still very skeptical because they don't see like people putting their money up, or they don't see people actually like coming together. There's always like these siloed, activities or initiatives and things like that. Like I would just really like to see, Black people come together, or just like a culture come together where we can collaborate on things that are progressive. Like I think about like what Irwin is doing, and I would like to see other people like reach out to him and like help push his stuff forward. Um, to me, it's like that will inspire more folks to come together, and it won't just be like I don't want it just to be like a special thing or a special event like an art basel, or like an Essence Fest. Like it should just become a part of the culture where we're celebrating each other, and we feel comfortable and like capable of doing those things.
and yeah, on that point of like hope and optimism, and I was being cynical like a second ago, but everyone's talking about like the kind of historical trajectory of our world, and it does seem like after every single time of great, almost like social upheaval, there's been this like upturn. Like Andrew was saying, like the Roaring Twenties, or even post like World War II, like just this like great economic boom, and even like socially, people were just like happier. So I do wonder if we'll see that, and to the point of like social interaction, I almost wonder if like once kind of lockdowns lift and things like that, are people still just going to be home? Like, are people even going to want to go out? I don't know. Like now I'm going back and
Yeah.
forth on it. Like I have no idea.
They will. I think they will.
Yeah.
I think people, I mean, speaking on even my own behalf, like I found like my seasonal depression where like it comes to like December, where I start to close out the year. Like I get like a little bit sad. Like this year it hit me a lot harder because like I can't see my family, I can't see my friends. Like I used to travel every year, and I'm just thinking like I'll be smarter about it. I'll be more like, if anything, it'll make me appreciate the things that I do a lot more. When before, I think I took those like social interactions and intimacy very carelessly. I think that people will start to put more meaning and intent to their interactions and the things that they do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. where we'll net out. I do think, like you said, I think we will go back to it. But I even like have taken it back to like even the business world. Like, are we gonna like? We used to be on a plane every other week or more, traveling to meet people, and like, what is that expectation going to be like, right? Because there's like there's value to face, and like, where does that net out? Because so much of the world has been sort of going, oh, there's another way of doing this now. You know, you already see it popping up where it's like people are closing their brick and mortar doors, and they go, oh no, we can. Why would we have those costs? And I think like there's fallout of that, right? Like when entire industries realize we don't have to pay for people to be in the same office every day and they could still be productive and work, right? There's a mental impact on all of those people who would otherwise be like socially interacting, right? Like now you have a whole group of people who have taken like a half of their life or a third of their life, and it operates in a completely different way. And what is the impact on like the other part of their lives? What's the impact on the long term of their family? What's the impact on the long term of you know, their kids and the interaction like at school and things like that? Like I feel like the ripple effect is going to be real wild and interesting. I'm sure like some good and some bad will come from it, but that's the part that's just like so weird to even consider. You know,
I
like
mean,
what
that is crazy to think about, like long-term effects of this, because I think everyone hopes that, you know, by the end of this, it's just kind of, you know, business as usual, like back to everything how it used to be. But it's like we can't exactly do that anymore, economically, and just like people are going to be more wary of shit. So that is a good point, you know. And I know at Basic, like we're still having those discussions as to like, well, what are we going to do when, you know, offices kind of can open back up and things like that. But I wonder if like remote work will just be more acceptable. It'll be like half in office and like half at home kind of thing. Like, I don't know. I just wonder what that paradigm will look like as well. Like just as far as working and collaboration.
Yeah, because weirdly we got further apart and closer together at the same time.
Yeah.
Like while all this went on, you know, like the biggest problems in the world became far more apparent and we all rallied around them. Like working remotely. I mean, we have people who relocated because they're like, oh, this isn't going to be like an issue anymore. Like I can work, you know, and be further away and working across time zones. And so it's like, as much as our like face-to-face interaction went away, our understanding of like what it really means to like be connected with somebody and be able to work with them and interact with them changed sort of dramatically. And there's been like just so many redefinitions of like just customs, like the way we customarily did this or that. And I think that like society is so tied together through custom and tradition that like when you rip something away like that or just shift it that dramatically, like there is a massive shift. Like there's a globalization that will come out of this in a weird, interesting, kind of wild way long term.
Do you think that like physical touch is going to be like a thing of the past? You know what I mean? Like, I think for me, when I say that, it's like when I used to see you guys in the office or I see like people in the streets, my first thing to do is like shake hands or like give a hug. And I'm slowly like, I still struggle with that when I see people that I know because it's just instinctual. But do you think that we over time would just like learn to disconnect in that way?
I never thought about it because every time I see people, I'm like fist bumping them.
I know. I saw Erwin like last month, and he like wanted to fist bump me, and I'm like, dude, are you sure? Like, you want to do that?
Yeah, I'm just like I'm used to that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's to any of these things. I don't think there's going to be a one size fits all answer. I feel like it's super nuanced. And what if that becomes the new divisive thing? It's like we've now gotten past race in 2030, but now it's like the people who touch versus people who don't touch. Yes, people have to have something to fight over.
Right. I just wear a sign that says I'm a toucher.
Damn.
So you're saying there's going to be more germaphobes in 2021? Because I could definitely see that.
I mean, I think we'll get over it because I think if you look at how we all were when this first happened versus how we are now, how it gradually went away as we realized that, oh, it's okay to do this. It's okay to do this. It's okay to do this. I think that that's what's going to happen when we go back into the real world. Like, I think gradually we would get back to living how we were living, even though all of us want to say like, dude, I'm not going to do that anymore. That's disgusting. Because even when you think about like the act of putting gum in your mouth, it's probably one of the most disgusting things because it's food, but you did not wash your hands prior to it at all.
Honestly, I don't think my hygiene's not going to change.
That's like literally when I was in New York, when we were in New York for coach, that was like the first thing I thought about when I was like walking around and like the pandemic started breaking out and you had to like wash your hands before you eat everything. I was like, oh shit, you put gum in their mouth. They don't wash their hands. And so I just think like when this first happened, we were hypersensitive and hyper aware. Mm-hmm. At the end of this, it's probably going to net out differently in different people. But I don't think it's going to be like globally, like everybody's going to be afraid to touch. I feel like people are going to be like, yo, touch me.
Touch me.
Hey, hold on. Let me hit you with this sanitizer first. That's true.
I don't know. I think it probably depend on like the amount of people who you interacted with during the pandemic, right? Like your level of comfort. But then once you get back out into the world, it's going to be very similar to like when you go to Little Italy, you don't feel like there's a pandemic and you immediately, like if you stay there long enough, you start feeling comfortable with the fact that there's that many people out because you get into like the groupthink mode, or it's like whatever, I don't know where I keep referencing this from, but it's like the principle of like a riot, which is like at some point everybody has a breaking point which they'll throw a brick through the window. The breaking point might be one person, the breaking point might be seeing 100 people. But all of us have that breaking point of groupthink. And so at a certain point, when you're back out in the world, you will hug again. And then once you do the first hug, you're like, oh shit. And then you'll keep hugging.
Mm-hmm. That's the new pandemic is hugs. We're going to be spreading hugs.
Oh God.
That's 2021.
What a thought. But you're right, man. Like we are, that's like that whole concept of like the diffusion of responsibility, right? Like we're such a social animal that like we visual cues, behavioral cues of people around us, like you said, like you can be out in public. This happened already, right? Like when the first wave of the pandemic went down and they started opening shit back up and like nightlife and bars and like, we can't trust you people because you just start acting a little too like wild, like after 11 p.m. and you've had like two drinks and you just forget that there's a deadly virus going around.
Yeah.
You know? That's why I think everything will bounce back. I think everything will bounce back, but there will be like I said, like echoes of stuff. You know, it's gonna take a minute, and you know it'll go slowly, but
yeah, I do like our now connection with digital technology and how people are using digital to connect, and what you're seeing on TikTok. Like I feel like the boom in that stuff is like literally because we aren't able to connect with one another, and youth are using that to connect with people that they would have never connected with. And then, so I think obviously that's something that will remain and stay true, and no industry will now get away from utilizing digital to connect with their audience, especially as they begin to see like, does it make sense for me to reopen all of my retail spaces? Like they're gonna probably hedge or they're gonna like, they're definitely not gonna do that again. Because like, who knows when the next global pandemic is going to pop off? Like that's going to be something. And then insurance companies will now create some new thing where you have to pay for global
pandemic insurance.
Yeah. Like I feel like
gosh.
There'll be a bunch of things that pop up out of this. Obviously that's one, but then also I think mental, like, I feel like that's going to be one of those echoes. That's going to be one of those shadows of this whole experience, is like the level of people who are dealing with mental health issues, that know they're dealing with mental health issues, that had panic attacks during this thing, but didn't know it was a panic attack. And so now that those things are unlocked in your being, are those things going to continue on post-pandemic? Or are you going to just bury them again? So I feel like there's going to be some interesting tensions with mental health.
It sounds like you mean like a lot of like resources are going to start opening up, which it has, I think. even for us, with companies offering, what is it called? Just what did JustWorks offer?
Just works.
Talk space.
Yeah.
Talk space. Yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
offered us talk space. And, I think for me, the reason why we talked about this previously, why I didn't reach out to a therapist, because I couldn't afford it. And I think like now it's just going to start becoming like a thing that's like given to us because shit, we need it. We've always needed it. And now people are like more outwardly speaking on it. And for me, and like the people that now I'm starting to surround myself with, because I think now I'm making more intentional decisions of the energy that I'm putting in my space, is like, not just forgiving, the trauma from my past, but also trying to find like inspiring ways to move forward. And I think that's kind of what I'm like looking forward to 2021. I think that's the direction that we're going into, is like health, wealth, growth, again, collaboration, whatever that looks like. But more so like, 2020 was like the knock on the door that just kind of put everything into flames. And now we're trying to like rebuild something more beautiful. But social distancing.
Well, we have 15 minutes. So we talked about like kind of things we hope for in 2021. But are there maybe things you guys will miss about this year, if anything? Like I know this has been such a shitty year, but like what things do you think you'll take for granted next year?
Well,
if anything, I don't know.
I think one thing for sure, like, I mean, we talked about things you're grateful for, but I think when things start to go back to normal, we're going to go back into a society that's got a lot of distractions at their fingertip. And I think like the sort of forced nature of like being a little bit more still made us pay attention to stuff we probably would have been like very distracted around, or had some other. There's just less noise, right? Like in the world right now. I mean, like there maybe is more noise of like social chatter and whatever, but like the things that do happen there's less things that really go out and happen. So like there's more attention around them, and we'll go back into a world where there's like much more to distract ourselves with again, and to preoccupy ourselves with again, in some capacity. And so I think you end up with a society that's like distracted again.
I would echo that, because it basically feels like when you were saying that, it reminded me of like the old, like when you watch an old movie or old TV show and the whole family and everybody in the town is gathered around the TV and they're all watching the same exact fucking news.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody knew the same thing and knew like the same thing to a deeper level, because like that was their focus, and they had conversations around it. And then as media began to diversify, people didn't necessarily watch the same thing, and you're now distracted by something else. And I know this, but you don't know that. And we're also not talking because I'm not interested in that, because I've never watched it. So I just feel like that is, I agree. I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss the fact that we have been able to focus on important issues as a collective.
Yeah.
Whereas like in past years, there's been BLM for minutes, but it's like they have some marches, shut down some highways. And if you don't drive that highway, you don't know about it.
Yeah.
You just kind of like, you just live your life. And BLM is just one example. Even like what happened in the Philippines, like with the typhoon, like I don't necessarily know if I would have even known about that if it wasn't for social media and like me being focused.
Yeah.
It freezes like that.
I think he froze. No, but I totally agree though. I think for me, you're all right. Like 2021 seems like it'll be more about like escapism, right? Like getting away from things, like distracting ourselves, indulgence. Whereas now, like this year, even though it's been, again, a really sucky year, like we have had a lot of time for reflection and introspection and growth. So I wonder if we'll ever get this kind of opportunity again, not opportunity in the sense that like, obviously, it's been a sad thing, but like, I don't know. That's a very good point I didn't even think of.
Well, there will be maybe less bullshit on TV for a little while, because they couldn't film for so
True.
everybody
No,
was
there's
shut
always
down
gonna be
from-
bullshit.
Uh,
I think for me, what I will miss the most is the quiet time. I had a lot of time to kind of sit with myself, which I never really did before. And I think like as painful as it was to have like a lot of realizations, I appreciate that it helped me grow, you know. I don't think that like I think like as slowly as we're starting to like progress and like trying to find like a new normal or things like that, these conversations that we've had on Brandbeats were like really introspective and necessary. And I don't know if I'm not saying like I won't have those same feelings or those same thoughts, but I just know like it came when I needed it the most.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good point. Like I was listening to like a few past episodes that I was in, and comparing it to like the subject material we've had recently, I'm like, holy shit, like this is almost night and day. Like we used to just make like random fart jokes in the middle of like a Brandbeats episode, and like which is fine, you know, but I think it's good that we're finally focusing on serious shit. And to Erwin's point, you know, this year is kind of like duct taped our eyes open, you know, like some fucking Clockwork Orange shit where it's like we can no longer be blind to what's going on. You know, we're all kind of like we're here, we're forced to watch it. So I hope that continues in 2021 in like some fashion or form.
Yeah, same. Was there any questions?
No questions.
We lost Erwin.
He's
He's
making
clean.
dinner right now in the dark. No questions, but we did get kind of a comment. So Vicky from our team said, "Is Erwin still like? What is he? He's mixing up. What's he doing?
He's taking the trash out. I don't know.
He's recycling."
Vicky said, many
quite
prominent scientists are actually saying that it's likely we get another roaring 20s and are predicting similar economic upturns. So kind of like I was saying earlier, like, you know, if history is any indication, I think we can expect some kind of like not return, but some sort of like uptick again, you know, next year, whether it's economically or socially, just like a resurgence or like revitalization of everything. So again, like it goes back to what I was saying at the very beginning of the episode, which is I just hope next year we find some sort of optimism and like hope to latch onto, because, you know, after being like just hit hard by this year, I would hope we at least like learn something, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Did you see? All right. So I was like scrolling through Twitter yesterday after they were talking about Pfizer. Following the tweet or like the story about Pfizer on Explore on Twitter, it was like 300 people fell ill with some mysterious sickness in India.
Holy shit.
And then one person died. And it was like the government is trying to figure out what the fuck is happening.
Man, shit never stops, dude.
And they were like, it's not COVID.
Oh my God.
What?
Oh yeah.
Wait. From the vaccine?
2021, y'all.
From the vaccine?
Oh, it didn't have any more explanation than that. And obviously, I'm reading Twitter. Why would I click into a story? I read the headline, bro.
This sounds like the plot to I Am Legend. Yeah.
I've literally been saying that to like everybody, because I'm just like, yo, this vaccine is just gonna create zombies. Like, they're just gonna be so,
oh my God.
They're just immune to everything, and it just like transforms your being.
Dude, 2020 is just like a shitty horror movie. Like we're getting to the end, we're at the credits, but then nope, after the credits, it's just like, here's the next threat. Here's like the next like shitty thing. The monster isn't dead. It's like, God damn, dude. Like we just can't catch a break.
2021 just fucking like never disappoints.
Keep going. Yeah,
I mean, just look it up, because I didn't want to read it because I was just like, come on.
Yeah.
We're getting all this like good news about like the first person has gotten it who was like 100-something years old. That's just like
They tested on somebody's great grandpa?
No, someone's great grandma.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, On that sour note, any other
Salty.
dark things anyone wants to bring up before we end this episode?
Well, I just want to say thank you to you guys and like everyone else who's been joining these conversations since all this happened. I'm grateful that you guys invited me. This has been very therapeutic for myself. And yeah, I'm really proud of us.
Yeah.
Like the fact that we can still smile after all the bullshit that happened this year. You know, I think my love for you guys have grown stronger than ever. Even though Erwin and Andrew are pains in my asses, I've accepted that. So yeah, I really appreciate this. And I think other people listening and who have listened have also shared the same sentiment.
Totally. Yeah.
That's
I mean,
nice.
we're glad to have you as a new voice, JoJo. So hopefully 2021 we can continue this journey and just keep the trend going because it's been fun.
I appreciate you as much as it pains me to say it. I appreciate you. No, of course. I really enjoyed like these conversations. Like you guys said earlier, it's been interesting for us to like see the quality of our content or like the nature of this conversation change when things that are more meaningful came into a brighter light in our lives. And you know, and it's been good to have these conversations because I think that this is not something that you get to do a lot of just in and of itself. Like, you know, you used to be able to get together with people and in an unplanned place, like have a cool conversation or Ice Heart to Heart, or we used to have it in the office, like a Thursday at the end of the day. And I'm glad we have an avenue to keep doing that because it actually takes work to do that now. Like now you have to like decide to go do that. And it's really fucking important. So, I mean, I've appreciated these conversations too. And it's been great to have you in these conversations as well, JoJo. Not inviting you. You're always invited.
Yeah.
It's a lie, but thank you. Erwin, why are you this way?
Want to bring us home, Erwin? Last thoughts?
Were you talking to me?
Yeah.
No.
I'm about to open a bottle of wine that's rated like 4.2 on the Vino app. So I'm
Oh wow.
I'm enjoying life, and we all should enjoy life. That's what we should learn from this year.
There it is. Enjoy life. More conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Become a whole person.
Well, next Thursday, yeah?
No, definitely not next
Thursdays.
Thursday. No.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Dude, we're having a Christmas Eve special episode. Tune in.
No, we're not doing that. Sorry, y'all. I love y'all, but we're not doing that. Probably the week.
Nah, you should have cut it. Cut it there. That way people can like tune in.
They wouldn't tune in on Christmas Eve. That'd be too much to ask. We'll see y'all next year. All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone. What?
We're having a giveaway Christmas Eve.
Good. Bye. Enjoy your wine.
On that note, yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
See you next year.
Bye.
Bye.